we are trapped as Nigerians if we don't do the right thing, because we have the greatest opportunities to do the right thing, and if we're not doing the right thing, I say we are trapped, because the kind of spirit God gave us, teaches us that, look, we can never be ruled over, and we can never be oppressed. So if you are being oppressed as a Nigerian, then know you are trapped. If you are being ruled over as a Nigerian, know you are trapped. Because nobody has the right to rule over any other person. And that is why we're saying that before you rule any other person, you must get the person's consent. You must, go through the process. And the process has to be legitimate. Nature teaches us a lot of things. And these things nature taught us are the things I want to share with you. The first thing nature teaches us is humility. Are we humble people? Humility is critical. It is important in whatever we're doing. Because God himself expressed humility in different forms in all his creations. Apart from that, the coming of Christ, manifested the humility God, craves from us. He could have come directly as a mighty God and then be turning the earth upside down and be using hand to bulldozer everybody. But he came just like a lamb. That shows humility. A seed does not come like a tree. It comes like a seed. So that is how nature teaches us things. But we ignore these teachings. We ignore the lessons, from nature. And then we are doing a different thing. That means we lack the Spirit of God. Because God will reveal to you what he wants you to do. He reveals to you how to go about it and how to, present yourself. He himself waited even for 5,000 years before Christ came. The second thing God teaches us, nature teaches us, is we should rise above our fears. Because fear is something that ravages humanity. Fear is something that ravages human being. Because when you are afraid, you cease to operate as a human being. When you allow fear into your life, you no longer be in control of yourself. You start losing your self-esteem. You start losing, your self-worth because of fear. And because of fear, you get into unnecessary competition, which I see a lot of people do. Because God created us and told us, look, all the things you are pursuing on earth, they are already inside of you. So all the things you are looking at, whether it is the star, whether it is the moon, whether it is a horse, whether it is a car, you already possess it. You have everything. We are gifted, we are complete, and we lack nothing. Yet, we don't understand these things. I see people scramble over things. I see people go to the extent of killing. I see people plot in order to outsmart somebody, in order to get something, which you already have. So it shows the high level of ignorance. Because if you're not ignorant, you won't be competing with another person. Don't forget that people are different. You don't measure yourself against any other person. You measure yourself against yourself. You measure yourself against your vision, not against Peter, not against Paul, not against Mary. No. And because of this, we have unhealthy relationship. We have unhealthy competition. And that renders every other thing we possess, counterproductive. So that is why I'm saying fear, panic alone, disorganizes a person. When you're afraid, you start sweating. You see your fingers. You start being uncomfortable. You cannot make a coherent speech. You cannot say out something you have in mind because you are panicked, because you are probably envious. The third thing nature teaches us is that we have to be committed. Commitment is what nature teaches us. So, because if you're not committed, there is no way you can, exhibit consistency. Because consistency is that faith we are looking for. Don't forget that God works with two things: faith and love. I'm going to come over love. So nature teaches us how to be committed. Look at a seed. Look at a plant in the soil. The plant in the soil, there is commitment. There is consistency. There is, that dedication. God, that's why God is a God of covenant. God expects you to worship him under the rain, under the sun, under everything. He doesn't want you to break that covenant, but we always break it. We are not consistent in our pursuit. Jesus Christ said, if there are two things, either yes or no, any other thing is a lie. So you're on the side of God or you're on the side of the devil. There is no in between. So that's why commitment comes at the top. And commitment also leads you to be consistent. So if you're not consistent, that means you don't have faith. Because faith is what we operate on. And because God himself also operates on based on faith. So that is why he says, if you must come to me, you must come to me only if you have faith. So because if you don't believe that I exist, then there is no way you can know about me. So you must, he who comes to God must come with faith, believing that he exists, and that is the only way God can show himself to you. But we introduce self-doubt. And that self-doubt is manifesting in our businesses. It is manifesting in our churches. It is manifesting in governmental areas, parastatals. So this self-doubt, is what destroys a human being. Because we are created in the image of God. The same power God possesses, the same power he has given to us. But because of self-doubt, we are destroyed. Because of self-doubt, we become slaves to satanic desires. Then we, who are supposed to be masters, are now being slaves to the devil. The devil is supposed to serve us. So a man is not created to serve a devil. But the reverse is the case. We are now serving the devil. Because we've surrendered our power, which God gave us, to the devil. And we are now subject to manipulation. And we cannot think out something and carry it out because of self-doubt. Because we don't have faith. Because we don't want to be committed. We don't want to show responsibility. Because commitment, borders on responsibility. And they said there is no freedom without responsibility. In fact, responsibility is more important than freedom. Because giving you freedom and there's no responsibility, you become useless. So consistency ranks as the fourth thing nature teaches us. This tree, whether it is raining or not, it is there. And that is how God wants us to, see the world. That is the message God is sending to us. Yet we are not able to see these things. We are not able to see these values and these principles. And that is why I'm sharing them with you. So that you can learn, because these things are not something you can see easily, but is persistent for somebody who has eyes to see. So the fourth thing is love. So the fifth thing is love. Love is necessary. Like I stated earlier, God works based on two things: love and faith. I've spoken about faith. Now I'm going over love. So everything God created operates on love. Without love, you malfunction. And that is why we don't have love for ourselves. Because we don't have love for ourselves, then it is impossible to love even your children. A man who never loves himself is not going to love his children. He's not going to love his wife. He's not going to love his country. Because these things are, lack of leadership, is caused by lack of love, self-love. We don't have love for ourselves. So for you to love another person, you must first love yourself. And that is why God gave us the same spirit he possesses, so that we can love like him. God is love. He defined himself. Are we loving? No. So we say we love God, but we don't love our brothers. We don't love our sisters. We are very envious, forgetting that envy, cannot work with God. Envy, that has been envious, is counterproductive where God is. Because most of us are envious. Because if we're envious, it is not that person you are envious about. You are envious of God. And God is love. You don't love God. There's no way you can love yourself, and there's no way you can love your neighbor. You can't even love anybody around you. And that is why, because we don't have love, that is why we're having wars. That is why we're having unseen competition. That's why we're having, destructions behind the scene. People are destroying others behind the scene. People are saying negative things. That's why we have slandering. Slandering is one saying the truth, not with the intention of destruction. It's saying the truth with the intention of destruction. That is what slandering means. Because you say the truth, not because you're saying the truth, but so that you can destroy your brother, you can destroy your sister, you can destroy your relatives, you can destroy your own people. So these things are very, very important. So love is critical. Everything that operates in this world operates on love. This my hand that is moving operates based on love. The universe operates based on love. They revolve along the axis, the galaxies, everything operates on love. So because without love, there's no way. The engine of a vehicle operates based on love. The engine of an aircraft operates based on love. But we don't see these things. So this is why love, no matter what you do, if you don't love yourself, if you don't love your God, you are wasting your time. And because we don't have love, that is why there are too many killings. There are many wars. There are many destructions. Nothing is working. We are malfunctioning. We are trashing down the world. So these things are very, very important. So because nature teaches us these things. Nature, first of all, I said to you, nature teaches us humility. It teaches us love. It teaches us consistency. It teaches us to rise above our fears. Then it teaches us faithfulness, which is consistency. This is nature teaches us. So you don't need to go to school in order to be consistent. You don't need to go to school in order to know all lessons. They are everywhere. They are persistent. Yet, we don't want to admit it. So we are trapped because we are trapped. We no longer have that power to live our full potential. We no longer have that power to declare ourselves as free people. Because we are not free as long as we engage in robbery, in slandering, in stealing government money, in taking power unlawfully, in cajoling people, in deceiving people, and in practicing an illegitimate things to get power, like as we are seeing today in Nigeria. Because you lack the wisdom. You don't know that you cannot rule over any other person. You don't seem to understand that you cannot oppress any human being. So if you are oppressing any human being, you are going in a satanic direction. It is evil. Remember, God has never been oppressed before. God has never been ruled over before. That is the spirit. So if you are accepting yourself to be oppressed, it means you are a slave. It means you are very, very sick indeed. If you allow somebody to rule over you, it means you are sick. You are sick indeed. Because you've made yourself a slave. No human being should be a slave to another person. So that is why we are saying that if you want to rule people, if you want to become a governor or a president, you have to seek the consent of people and go through the process and obtain that their power being transferred to you. Otherwise, you are wasting time. Otherwise, you are causing chaos. And that is what we're seeing. So, nature is very, very persistent in teaching us something. But the problem is that we think we can go through a shortcut because we have allowed the spirit of the devil to take control of us. And that spirit has taken away the spirit of leadership that is a birthright God gave to us. And now we are slaves to material things. We are slaves to things like sex. We are slaves to things like music. We are slaves to things like money. These things are supposed to serve you, but you are today serving them. And after serving them, you end up not being happy. There is no peace of mind because you jumped the queue, because you didn't follow the law, because you don't have sense of order in yourself. Thank you.